Welcome to the Uplift, where we are uplifting our lives, uplifting each other, and uplifting our communities together. Thank you for joining myself, Cy Herrera, and Tessa Savala here, two women, two attorneys, doing it our way, and inviting you here each week to share in on the stories, advice, and life lessons we've picked up along our journeys that keep us uplifted, and that will hopefully do the very same thing for you. Now buckle in and let's get ready to be uplifted.
Hello, everyone. As always, I'm Tessa, and joined by the amazing, accomplished, fantastic. There are not enough good adjectives in this world to describe her, Cy.
Well, thank you, Tessa. Same to you, and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. Excited for today.
I am too. We had the most fast conversation yesterday at lunch, and we had both kind of been thinking about the same thing related to our podcast and our uplift community, and I kind of wanted to explore it. So the topic that we had was, does everybody think we're a bunch of crazy people who are just happy all the time and have no concept of reality? I think that's like the dramatic headline for it. And,
Yes.
I don't know. I hope we figure out a way to explain it. For me, it's just a lifetime of just making that active decision to choose the happy route. And
Mm-hmm.
I read this example that I think, excuse me, really explains it. It's a person who said when they encounter somebody who hasn't read a classic book. So let's say, for me, that would be Handmaid's Tale. That's a classic book for me. And so the woman says, instead of being like, oh my God, I can't believe you haven't read this, her response is, oh, what a treat you have ahead for you.
Right.
And so, like,
Right.
it's the same situation, but viewed from two totally different perspectives, right? Like,
Right.
one is this kind of critical, what have you been doing with your life? And why haven't you picked up this book? And the other one is, wow, this is really exciting for you. You
Yep.
have the ability and the opportunity to read this really amazing piece of work.
For the
And I
first
kind of,
time.
for the
Yeah.
first
And
time,
have
which
that
is like,
experience. Yeah.
yes. And I kind of think for me, that's what uplift is, because it's making those decisions to be the person who says,
Yep.
wow, what a treat you have for yourself, or wow, this will work out this time, as
Yeah.
opposed to our normal, I think, response from people is, oh, well, it's not going to work out, let's plan around
Our
it.
conditioned response, right? And I think
Yes.
that's the difference, is that it's about what you're choosing to be your program, what you're choosing to be your habit, right? I think, or in my experience, anyways, it seems habit really is so much of what we do and what we think and what we say and how we interact with one another. Habit is a really, really powerful thing, and being conscious about choosing this other habit of
Yeah.
choosing to see things, for the possibility that they will work out, that they will be good, that something, exciting is going to happen. Even the like habit of turning your nerves into just literally like reframing. It's kind of like PR is the other thing I was thinking. It's like your little internal PR person, right? Where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay, things are happening, right? It's like you have a PR person, you call them because something's going down, people are talking about you in the media, what have you. And
Hmm.
it's like you got to turn that story around. You got to reframe it. And it's all about the framing. It really is.
It is, I want everybody to know that it doesn't make you the weirdo to see
Hmm.
things from like the good perspective or the opportunity perspective,
Right.
or just a different angle than what society has trained us to see situations
Yeah. And I mean, technically, you are a weirdo because so many people.
in. Yay! It's my
And
favorite.
it's fantastic, yeah, because I mean, so many people are conditioned to, think of the worst, to believe that things are not going to work out. And you know what? Frankly, that's a lot of times why they don't. Is in my like philosophy of life is that if you don't believe it's going to happen, then it's not going to happen. Like in my philosophy, it's like you have to have that that faith, that belief, that just that conviction for it to even be more likely that it will happen, right? Like that is what puts the odds in your favor to begin with. And so, sure, things can go either way, but when you choose to see the vision and you choose to believe that it's going to happen, and you start, like, your brain does an interesting thing where it starts finding ways to make it
Mhm.
true, in my experience.
Excuse me. I think you are absolutely correct. I kind of feel, and this might get a little new agey, weird, kind of weirder than I've already been so far.
Let's get weird.
Yes, let's get weird. So I kind of feel like if I don't see the situation in a positive way, I feel like my body language, the words I
Mhm.
choose,
Yep,
how I dress myself
yep.
also show this kind of like
You're
negative.
signaling.
Yeah.
You're
And
signaling, and people pick up on it. It's human psychology,
yes.
actually. People are reading you. They're reading every little bit of your body language. They're reading into every, everything that you say. They're reading you to know what you expect to happen. And I mean, that's why we're so drawn to people that are confident, right? Like I'm obsessed with
Mhm.
all the shows, like all the reality shows, not all the reality shows, I should say, but there's so many now. But, I have the ones I like, and usually they're competitions, and usually, the person who looks like they have it all together, that believes that they are going to win, they go a long way, if
They
not win the whole
do.
thing,
Mhm.
because people believe it. They're like, "Oh, you must know something we don't know. Like, you must just be waiting to show us something that we don't know about yet." And it goes a long way enough for people to say, um, I mean, really just to follow your lead, really. They're just following your lead.
Right, and for me, it feels so, like, obvious, like, why would I want to put out into the world for other people
Mhm.
to read this idea that I don't see myself in the best possible light? Because that's
Right.
inviting those other people to see me also not in the best possible light, and that's not
Yep.
gonna help me. And some
Exactly.
and sometimes, I mean, I will admit it doesn't feel I don't feel up to, like, the positive thing, but I am a big believer in fake it until you make it. Not because
Mhm.
I'm faking it, but because I know that's what I need to be doing, and sometimes that's not what I'm doing, but I know that's what I should be doing. So I will step into that role and, you know, convince myself that that's where I am.
Yeah,
Not because I'm
absolutely.
not feeling those other things, but because I know that's what's necessary to create what I want at the end.
And then again, like confidence is such a great example because it really is that one where you can force yourself, if you're
Mhm.
conscious about it, to be like, "Oh no, I need to go in here with my head high. I need to go with my shoulders back. I need to be,
Mhm.
projecting. I need to be speaking with confidence." You can do all of those things. You can just do them even if you don't feel confident. You can do
Yep.
those things, and then you feel more confident. It's an amazing, like, self-fulfilling prophecy, and it works. It really does. Like, I swear, I'm just to share with people because I've been noticing this just in the last couple weeks. I have to talk a lot in my work. I have to, like, give a lot of advice. I have to give a lot of direction, or I have to collaborate with people and come up with, the right thing to do. And I love doing all of that. But I also have felt times where I'm like, who the hell am I? I'm just, I'm just giving my, like, a little opinion, and and then people are they like it sometimes, and they think it's valuable, like I can see, right? But it's just a really interesting thing to, like, what am I trying to say? It's an interesting thing to see the value in something that you didn't necessarily see value in before in yourself, I guess,
Mhm.
where like, anybody can give their opinion. It's like everybody has one, is a way that people, like, diminish your opinion. Um, and what I've noticed is that I have made a habit. It's not because I always feel confident or because I think my ideas are the best or the only ideas. I often try to practice humility, actually, a lot of times, because I want to remember that we can find so many great things by, including all the voices and challenging the first thoughts that come to my head. I'm an extrovert, so I just say whatever I'm thinking, and it's a process, right? And so what I've noticed lately though is like that habit that I conscientiously like conditioned myself to do, which is just to go ahead and say what I think, to just let myself experiment out loud with my thoughts in a group setting or with other people in the room. I've noticed that I'm doing it now without thinking about it too much, if that makes sense, right? Like I'm not like I used to
Hmm.
have a moment where people would be talking and I would have thoughts. And even though I'm an extrovert and I usually would just naturally speak and give opinions and thoughts, there were times where I would hold back because I was self-conscious, because I was insecure, because I didn't know how people were gonna take my ideas, or because I didn't know if they were really good yet, right? Or things like that. And so even though it was against my nature, in a way, I had conditioned myself to hold back. And, um, and now I notice that I've made this habit where I just say what I really think. I don't really, like I might have before said what I thought, but I put a little like caveat on it, right? We do this a lot.
Hmm.
Like people do this so much where they're just like, well, I don't know what I'm talking about, but,
Or
or,
I think this
yeah,
could work. Hmm.
yeah, or maybe this could be a thing, but I don't really know. Like, who do I, again, like what I just said, like, who am I? Or, just putting these little caveats, putting these little disclaimers on what we say and diminishing them as we say them.
Oh,
And what I've
absolutely.
yeah, and so that was one of my like defense mechanisms because I like to give my opinions, but my conditioning also told me, you know, maybe you're not the person who's supposed to be giving this thought, or maybe you're giving too many thoughts, you're not making room for other people, or whatever I'm talking too much, whatever people have told me to make me feel like I should be smaller. What I realize is I don't really do that anymore. And
Good.
it's been a conscious decision um because I mean, frankly, honestly, because I really came to a place where I was like, I think that my ideas are actually important, and no one's ever gonna take them seriously if I'm always saying like, "Well, maybe this," or like I'm just making them small, or I've just figured out like the people that really get ideas through, and I'm really motivated by hearing like strong speakers, strong communicators, and I'm like, those people are not qualifying whatever they say. They're telling it like it is. They're telling it as if it's a fact
Mhm.
already, actually, and it's really strong. And so that's, something that I worked on, and worked on it in every conversation just a little bit. Just kept practicing it. And even sometimes I would say stuff like the qualifiers, and then I would be like, actually, no, I don't mean that. And you might even hear me say that sometimes. I'll say something and I'll be like, no, not even that. Just it is this. And that's me still like working on my own conditioning. And so I find it interesting that we can basically reprogram ourselves, and it's really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we could open these doors for ourselves that totally change like how we see ourselves and how we see the people we love and how we see the world just by like flipping that switch inside of us and thinking in a different way than we did
Yep.
initially. And it's amazing. A thing
Hmm.
I did a few years ago was decide that I was going to see everybody's actions in the most positive light,
Oh,
right?
that's a good
Instead
one.
of like this
Hmm.
doomsday where, oh, well, they were out to get me or
They're coming
not that,
for me.
right? Or that it was personal against me when they,
Yeah.
when in
What?
reality, maybe their
Well,
cat died that morning and it was a horrible day and this was the response I got. Because most of the times it has nothing to do with you when you get a
is
response.
Isn't it
And
fascinating that that's our default though,
it
to think it's
is.
about us? Why is that? Like, I'm very curious. Like, if you don't know, y'all, I'm very interested in just human psychology. I studied it because I find it so fascinating. Like, this kind of thing. Like, why is that the case? And also, is that the case for everyone, or is it like not? Like, is it a subset of population that we're conditioned to think that? And it might very well be actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, it could be, oh, well, if you are a person who's supposed to be submissive in society, for example, you might
Hmm.
be taught, maybe unconsciously, but every time something happens, it might be like, "Oh, well, what could you have done?" Or what did you do wrong? Right? Like, I'm thinking
Isn't
about
it?
development psychology now. Yeah.
Yeah, but think about the overwhelming number of people in society that that's being essentially taught to, whether it's
Mhm.
with people of color or people who were born outside this country. All of these groups are
Or just
taught.
children even. I mean,
Children in
maybe
general,
maybe
yeah,
it's yeah, like, maybe it's like, "Child, you need to learn something all the time," you know?
yeah.
Hmm.
But they whatever you say doesn't have enough value,
Right. Right.
and that is just
Not yeah.
I don't know how to say it without like f-bombing that sentence.
It's not okay.
It's not. Like, why did we think this was a good idea? And maybe it's like some puritanic thing about
Oh, because you
children.
gotta feel guilt? You gotta oh, that's a whole other
Yeah,
layer. You gotta feel guilt, you gotta punish yourself. Oh my god, it is that. It always comes back to the frickin' puritanical values, doesn't it? We are in that. We are so in that, and we have to fight against it, like, resist.
I mean, but how have we not escaped it in this country for hundreds of
Oh my
years? Like,
gosh, I don't
why is it?
know.
Do they put it in the water? What's
It's in
going
the
on?
water. That's the thing, it's like we are in the water and it is the water. We just have to keep reflecting on that and recognizing it and calling it out and saying, "I see you." Because it is
Right?
there, it's in all of us for sure.
But it's in like, think how many things it's like. We have guilty pleasures on what we eat. We have guilty pleasures on how we
Guilty
spend our
pleasures.
time.
Oh,
I'm like,
I'm
why are
I'm
we
changing
calling
it
it
to the
that?
I've rebranded. I'm reframing and
Awesome.
I'm reframing it into entering our pleasure era. And this era is
Yes.
gonna be fabulous. It's gonna be an era of just getting pleasure wherever we find pleasure and not feeling guilty
Hmm.
about it whatsoever, feeling excited about it, feeling thrilled about it, feeling happy about it, feeling deservedly just good, right?
I
And
this is
that
a
is an interesting thing that people don't seem to want us to have.
so true. And this is a question I repeated multiple times, I think, in various episodes. I think we have to stop and think and wonder who made up these rules that
Yes.
that we are, I guess, prohibited from seeking pleasure. Because
Mhm.
that's for me in my Taurus Swedish ways, what's the we don't have the
Exactly.
opportunity for pleasure.
I know, like, you wanna work your whole life? It's just so weird. Like, I mean, it's like if you literally think about it, it really is that. It's like if somebody were to make a bunch of laws, and the laws were
Hmm.
you're gonna work all your life and
And
don't do
suffer
anything,
because you can't
don't be
enjoy
yeah,
it.
and suffer. And suffer and say sorry for it the whole way through
Mm.
because 'cause you're sorry, the whole like, if somebody literally put that into legislation, like, there would be a frickin' revolt. But it's
It's
not
reality.
that, but it is reality somehow. So how is this the thing? It's like the boiling water and the frog, right? It's like if you just, make it part of the culture. Culture is so powerful. It's amazing. But if you just make it part of the culture and, it's reinforced in these little social some or these just like social ways in social circles and different power dynamics in relationships, but not coming like hammered down from the government or from one source of anyone that you can be like, I'm rebelling against you, right? Like sometimes we do it with our parents or what have you, but when it's the whole society pushing you, pressuring you just slightly in one direction, then before you know it, you're already halfway down that path and it's hard to find your way back or to veer off into any other way.
And I guess that's it. It's what you said earlier. It's, we have to figure out how to make this reframing a habit.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think it's, you know, kind of too, right? Like not allowing our friends to be self-deprecating because that's just negative
Yes.
talk about yourself.
Oh, yes.
Not allowing ourselves and our friends to belittle their position, belittle their opinions, and
Yes.
just
Yes.
allow them to take up space and own it.
We need to coach each other because this is a sport, and we're gonna.
It is. Okay, the first thing I can be sporty in my whole life.
Yes, it's our first opportunity. We are gonna be triathlons athletes
Yes.
in this, right? And we're coaching each other on how to really, step into the life we deserve, right? Like a life that's filled with joy and pleasure and optimism and hope and unapologetic authentic living essentially, right? Um yeah, and I'm just curious as you were talking about that, like what I love really like I'm a very practical person. I like the like very practical real step things. And so I was just thinking as you said that, like, what would I say to someone or what do I say? Because I do try to do this. I try to find ways to do some like empowerment coaching, I guess, for lack of a better phrase for folks. And I wonder if when somebody's doing self-deprecation, that one always kills me because I'm like, oh, I love you so much, and you're just talking badly about this person that I love, and I would never let
Yeah.
anybody else do that. But when somebody does it to themselves, it's a weird thing in society where, like, we accept that and we accept it for ourselves, and we almost take the cue that we should be doing that because it's called, it's something good in society called like humility or something like that. Like it's a virtue, right? And I don't get it. I don't get why making yourself small is a good thing. I just don't get, I mean, I understand the power of collaboration, and that's why I've been using that language where I'm like, I really value collaborative work. I'm finding ways and seeking out ways and I'm looking for other people to help me find ways where we can help each other collaborate more. But beyond that, what is this? What is this thing that we try to make ourselves small? That doesn't make any sense. Like, if you were going to collaborate, wouldn't you want a room full of giants?
Oh, yeah.
So why are we making ourselves small? So yeah, so I'm just thinking practically, if somebody in a conversation were to say something really self-deprecating, like let's say you and I are talking and I just say, well, I have this idea, but I'm sure it's not any good. People probably don't want to hear it, and maybe I should just keep it to myself. What would you say to me, Tessa?
Well, once you got part of that sentence out, I'd be like, stop,
Stop immediately. I love that
stop,
part.
and let's talk
You've done
about
that to me.
how I have. And now that I say, like, oh my God, was that rude? But no,
I love it though. Why? Don't make
but
yourself
it's,
small with the. And
see,
is it
good
rude?
point.
See, another. That's like
Here we
another
are.
stick of like, don't be
Hmm.
rude, don't be loud,
Yep.
don't be presumptuous, or don't be audacious. Like those are all the ways that they beat us into submission, right?
This was an excellent example since we just
Mhm.
did it, or I just did it to myself.
Mhm.
But really, it's about stopping and showing that person how amazing they are so that
Mm.
they have this platform. Only because I am such a true believer in positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it is
And it works.
providing that person all the insight on how amazing they are.
That
Because I think we all,
perspective.
mhm, because at that point in time, when they're making those self deprecating comments, they're not seeing those amazing and great
Mm.
attributes that they have and how accomplished they are. And I think it's especially important for women who often have their accomplishments taken from them, hidden from them. Because I think as women, we've all been in meetings where we'll say something and then the man will say something, and it's the exact same thing, but the man gets all the credit.
That's happened to me with another woman, and I think it's I'm
See?
just hilarious, and I'm like, I just stared at her, and she said, "Oh, is that what you just said?" And I said, "Yes, but it sounds so much better when you say it," which I'm
But
just a
see?
smart ass.
Okay. But it's also self-deprecating, right? Because,
Yeah,
even
yeah,
if you mean it in a joking way,
right, right.
it's putting yourself down.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Well, because you feel down, right? When somebody just like
Oh,
ignores
yeah.
that you've made this contribution and then takes it for themselves, you feel really insecure, especially when there's a power dynamic there, right? And so what you just said is exactly in my mind, my go-to, my technique. So I just had a conversation with someone recently that I can't even remember how she phrased her self-deprecation, but it was something to the effect of like, "Oh, what do they care? I'm just this person in this space, and basically I'm not important. What I really think genuinely is not important." And I just said, I think I said, "Stop." Actually, I've learned
See,
well from you.
yeah.
And I was like, "Stop." I was like, "You are brilliant. You are freaking brilliant." I'm like, "You are doing this. You are doing that. You are the lead of this. Like, you are just killing it day to day." I'm like, without anybody's, I mean, without anybody having to come save you or anything. I'm like, "You are just doing it." I'm like, "You do not see." I'm like, "You have to see that. You have to see that you're doing it every day and you're crushing it." And I'm like, "They're lucky to fucking have you there." Sorry, now I cussed, but they're lucky to have you there. I often do, and I get really passionate about it because I just, it's frustrating to hear brilliant, amazing, usually women, just putting themselves down and making themselves small because people don't understand how incredible the gifts that they're giving are, right? And um in this situation specifically, there was other, dynamics at play. There were racial dynamics at play where I'm just like, I'm like, they're so lucky to have you and your unique perspective there. I'm like, they have no idea what they want or need. I'm like, but you are giving it to them and they are lucky. And I'm like, if you're not doing it, no one's going to do it. And it's really a whole other thing when you get into like group dynamics and how that can make you feel, especially when you're the only one there. You're the only, person of color. You're the only woman. You're the only person with, international perspective or what have you. Like being that outside person, that outlier, that is really tough in a group dynamic. Just want to admit and recognize that that's real. And it's also really powerful, right? I mean, it'd be great if you had like another one or two people to back you up. It would make the power dynamic easier, but it's also really powerful that you have something special to offer that no one else in that room can offer. And say it. Just say it. Just say it.
I
Get in that habit. Push yourself through and just say it.
hmm And I love how you reframe that from it being a tough, challenging situation
Mhm.
to a very powerful situation because
Yeah.
we all have a unique perspective. And it's important that we all share it because we all need to be better informed.
Absolutely. And how are we going to benefit from one another and our diverse perspectives on life and all of our lived experiences if we're all just moving towards the center, consciously or subconsciously? Just that's groupthink. That's what that is. That's what you get. You get groupthink unless somebody is brave enough to say, well, here's my perspective. It's different. And you can do it meanwhile with respect and, collegiality and all of those good things. You can do it in the spirit of collaboration, as I like to say,
Absolutely.
right? And when you, again, bringing it positive, right? Because you can see even that in very different ways. You could see it as, oh, I don't want to bring, and actually, this person even said, I don't want to bring this conflict. I don't want to be the person who brings the conflict. I don't want to be the person who makes things difficult or is the difficult one, right?
But how think about that mindset though, because this
Mhm.
poor person has realized that if they bring a different perspective, that
Right.
implies conflict.
Yes, yes, exactly. And that's again, it goes back to this lesson of framing, right? Because I don't
Yeah,
see it as conflict. I see it as this opportunity to explore a whole different world that they never even thought of, right? Like they didn't even want to come,
exactly.
they didn't know it was on the map, honey. You brought a new map. And they were like, "What? It's a whole new world," right? And so that part.
Wow. Wow, that's intense. Thinking
Yeah,
about
but it's
that
real.
person's perspective. It's totally
Right.
real. And it is so she is so lucky to have you have caught that, or they are so lucky that you caught that for them. Because wow, can you imagine a person who has that view and then continues to see it kind of validated because nobody has stopped that train of thought?
Yeah.
And I think
And
we do that to ourselves too.
yeah, oh yeah, we silence ourselves, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
she would have had those thoughts with or without me. Like that, those were her real, genuine feelings and thoughts in those moments. And, there's all kinds of interesting pressures that apply. Like, one of hers was, I don't want them to see me as that person. I don't want them to have this bad impression of me because I like them and I want them to like me, and that's another part where it's like, of course we do. Of course we want approval and acceptance and belonging, right? Belonging is such a powerful, powerful, powerful tool that we haven't even really like addressed directly. But especially in a group setting, wanting that sense of belonging, oh, that's a really powerful one. And 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 I wonder if we can just call it out as a habit to be like, you know what? I belong here because I have this unique perspective. Not because,
Hmm.
I'm different so I don't belong, but I belong here because this group needs this other, lived experience to be explored here. They need somebody to, challenge them and make sure that their arguments are the strongest. That's one of the things I appreciated most about law school, actually, is that it taught me, we don't all have to acquiesce. We don't all have to, come to the
Be the
same
yes man.
conclusion
Hmm.
immediately. I loved the like to me it was like play. And that's
Oh,
I've
absolutely.
I've always loved to like argue, which is a weird thing to say maybe. But for me it's like kind of fun because it's like a mind teaser, right? Where it's like what else can you find in this argument that's wrong, or that's there's a hole in the argument, or there's a hole in the logic, or there's another perspective, or what if this was the case, or and it's kind of fun in law school because you can just like sometimes you can just like make up facts where you're just like, well, in this case, the guy didn't do that or this, or, the judge said this, or you have this kind of thing going on. And so it's kind of, in my mind, it's fun in ways like that. And you could think about it that way if that helps you to just say whatever it is you're holding on to. But you can also just like literally make it lighter. And this is actually ties all the way back to the beginning of this conversation about how we frame things in our own minds. That's what we're really talking about. How are we framing things in our own mind, and how does that impact how we actually present to the outside world and how we behave, right? Because, and the actions that we take. Because if you were to think all of these things in a group setting, I'm creating conflict. I don't want to be the outlier. I don't want to be the one who sticks out. I just want to belong. I just want to be the same as everybody. I just want to
I'm not good
I just want
enough.
to fit
What I
in.
say is
I'm
not
not good
important
enough.
enough.
I'm not
Hmm.
worthy. My opinion doesn't matter. All of those things, if you say that and you shrink yourself in your body, in your language, in the space that you'll take up in that room, unfortunately, like you're denying, the world, this group, this moment, you're denying everyone of whatever brilliant thing you were going to say, or what could have triggered other thoughts and ideas in other people. You don't even know the ripple effects of what you could provide, right? And if you frame it as, oh, they haven't even thought of this yet,
Hmm.
I have this thing that no one else is saying. I wonder if anyone else is thinking it. Maybe I should say it out loud to see if anybody else was thinking the same thing, or if they had never thought of it, that's even more exciting because now I offer this unique thing, right? Like, or maybe I have something that no one else has ever lived, and I can share that amazing experience, firsthand experience that no one else has ever experienced, and I can tell them, and then they'll see this in a whole different way. Like if you just think about it that way and you realize that you have something to offer and that you feel like it's worthy of being heard and that you're good enough, you are a person who deserves to be heard, and you decide, you know what, I'm just going to say it, even if you don't think of all of those things consciously, but you decide, I'm going to say what I think, and you get into the habit of doing that because you decide today that you are worthy of being heard and that your story is worthy of being heard and that it's important. Then you'll find yourself in those spaces not being apologetic, not being worried about it, just just telling your truth. And then you take each response from there. And if there's something negative that comes out, you got to remember that it's probably more about that person than anything that you've just said
Oh,
too.
it is absolutely about that person. But yeah, what I love about what your description here is that we're not denying that the negative stuff exists. We're not
Right.
denying that the negative talk
It's
is
going to come up. Yeah.
it's going to come up. And you're absolutely right. It's how do we reframe it? How do we want to project ourselves? How do we give ourselves the tools to accept that everybody's ideas and everybody's visions all have room at the table? And I can't believe that we're going to say that I'm going to say this, but law school did do a lot of good. And I mean, when you're in it, you're like, I don't really know about this. But now you're absolutely right. Looking back, it is training ground for accepting the fact that there are 1,000 views for one piece of information,
Right. Right.
and that's okay.
Yep.
And if anything, it's amazing. It
Yes.
helps you understand your view better, and it provides opportunities for everybody else to have a view that's different. And that
Yeah.
is, I think, something that not only good for us as like our spirits, but also the data says it's good for your businesses, it's good for your relationships, it's
Yes.
economic outlook, because we need that diversity and we need those differing opinions to grow and to achieve the things that we want to achieve. And the idea of being around a
Absolutely.
bunch of yes men just frankly really, right? Like, can
And
you
it
imagine
always
being at a
ends up
table?
in the gutter. Like that all it
Oh, it
always
does.
fails. People that put themselves around with like it never ends well. It doesn't end well.
Like, I'm thinking about that. I can't even get the initials right for that Bitcoin operation that totally failed, and they were using like QuickBooks to do their accounting, and they had no accountant. And the guy's parents were like finance professors, so there was like no
Oh my
excuse about what
God.
was going on. But I also envisioned that like boardroom being just like, yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah, it's
yes,
gonna be
yes, yes,
great.
yes.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is gonna be fantastic. But there's no dialogue, nobody has opinions because everybody's just saying, yes, 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 yes. And I
Yeah.
think that holds true for like every organization, right? Like we need that input. We need different perspectives, even
Yep.
if it's you providing different perspectives for yourself. Like, hey, maybe I shouldn't talk about myself this way. Hey, I am valuable. Look what I shared here. Look what I did there. And how we ended up in this like puritanical place where the idea that we're talking positively to ourselves is some form of like cockiness that should never see
Vanity.
the light of day, or vanity. I mean,
Come
wow,
on.
that's it. Just seems like a way that was, how do we pre-program a bunch of people to hold themselves down on their own?
Ugh, the oppression is real. It really is, and it's coming from inside now. Like it's just so sad. Ugh,
It's that horror movie where the call is
it
coming
really
from inside
is.
the house.
It is. It just makes me sad. Like I almost like I'm literally almost on the verge of tears and I don't know why. I just think it's so tragic. I really think it's tragic to think like right now my mind is going through all of the faces of all of the beautiful, mostly women and all these other actually all these other people in my life of all genders in my life that I have just felt them putting themselves down and it just makes me really sad that, it's not one person.
Yeah,
It's actually, most everyone. And I really think that, one of the reasons why I was just like floored and enamored with you, Tessa, is because you're one of the first people in my life that I was like, oh, this person is not that. This person is doing something entirely different. And I've met confident people in my life for sure, but it's really interesting. I know this is weird for me to probably talk to you, talk about you in front of you this way, but I think it's really important too to just say it out loud because there's been so many, especially women in my life that I've seen that have gotten power, have scraped, been scrappy, have done all the thing, have like climbed the ladder, all whatever you want to talk about, however you want to phrase it, right? They have done whatever they had to do to get where they needed to be, and they are amazing. they're amazing for getting that far and for getting where they wanted to be and achieving what they wanted to achieve. But I always, as I'm just reflecting, I always sense that they all had this sense of anxious insecurity is the best way that I can describe it. And I sensed it. Like, I'm just reflecting on it right now that, like, I knew that that was the case, and I always thought it was strange, right? Because I'm like, this is the head, you know, head person. Like, this is the person in charge. And I would still feel this strange, like, weird, sense of anxiety and worry and just, and not that it's, not that it's like the worst thing in the world to be worried or anxious. It's just interesting to me that like that energy was very, very different than when I would speak to you and sense your vibe, I guess, is that, you felt like settled, if that makes sense, right, to me, where you felt it's a whole different layer of confidence, I guess, right? Where it's like there are people who are doing things and they do what they need to do to get there, and that's great. I mean, and it works like we've been talking about. But I feel like there's these different it's like the different layers of enlightenment that people talk about, right? It's kind of like that. It's like these different levels of security, and I'm just here for it. I'm just so interested in exploring that with all of you and together because um I've sensed the same thing, and I just want for everyone to be on this journey and to surpass me because it feels so good. Every new layer that you achieve, every new level that you achieve, every new tier that you achieve of true, like, you feel good about being who you are, you feel secure in who you are, you feel just settled and unapologetic about who you are, what you think, what you do, how you take pleasure in life. That is it's just an amazing journey, and I hope that we're all like conscientiously moving to the next level in that, or moving deeper in that, right? Settling deeper into ourselves because so much of this outside grooming and programming, conditioning that we get from society is really just holding us back from sitting in our true selves actually. And I just think that that's really a big part of it. That's really the journey, and for me, the more and more conscious I can get about it, the faster it comes. And so that's why I'm grateful for this space to actually speak it out loud and to even take a moment in my life. It's not easy. It's not easy to set aside, as we both know, right? And all of you
Yeah.
probably know, it's not easy to set aside a time in your life to do anything for yourself, especially if it's not, for money, or it's not for work, or it's not
Yep.
for something that the puritanical values say is a success, right? And I mean, that's why the whole self-care movement is even a movement, is a thing, is attractive, because we are like, oh, we should make time to take care of
We
ourselves.
should.
And almost like we have to, or we're all gonna burn up and not survive. And so it's all of that, and I'm just grateful to like have um and it's very like almost subconscious. So I find that very fascinating, that we're just such, animals of energy and receptive and putting out like it very much is that. I think I just read something. I'm trying to bring it back up. I just read something about trauma, I think it was, and they were talking about how, yes, they were talking about how, you know, people try to address trauma and seek trauma healing often through talk and psychoanalysis, psychotherapy, right, where you're having talk therapy. And this person was writing, this therapist was writing that what's interesting is that most of our trauma um, is digested in a way, or is processed in our body in a way that is not in the same part of our brain that is the verbal part, if that makes sense, right? It's very like living in like the emotion and just lives in our body and it manifests through our body. And so their whole, their whole theory was, of course, that we need to be doing, I think it's called some, I'm not too familiar, but I think it's called somatic therapy. It's something that's about, getting into your physical body and working out this trauma through your body somehow. I'm very interested to learn more about this. But my point being is that it's very much related to what I'm saying here, in that your communication is happening, through your energy, through your physical body language, um, through eye contact, something as simple as eye contact, right? Like your posture, just all of that is physical stuff, and the words are kind of like decorative in a lot of ways.
Right?
And even your voice, actually, your voice is an instrument where your confidence is like coming through. I mean, think about your favorite singer, or like I just watched the biopic on Whitney Houston last night, and my God, talk about a powerhouse, right? In her voice and in her body language too, though, right? The way she held herself so high. I'm a fan, obviously, and her gesturing and her head held high. I mean, just like all of this amazing language that's happening. And then to have that voice, of course, but I mean, even the confidence that came through the voice, where she wasn't shaky, she was completely in control of how she wanted to speak and how she wanted to present each syllable. I mean, that's, a masterclass of a person in that regard, but just as an example to show how powerful each one of those things can be.
First, thank you very much for the kind words about me or during this. And I have to say that I completely agree about Whitney Houston. Big fan.
Yes.
But also, like, so many things that we could all learn from that. I was
Mhm.
just thinking about, I was listening to Florida Bay in the Texas House this week, and there's this woman who is a state rep and an accomplished attorney. When she gets to the microphone, her voice shakes.
Mm.
And this is a litigator in like
Mhm.
in her community, which is not a large community, but still, I mean, somebody who has everything lined up, everything in her life points to the fact that she should be able to communicate in front of crowds in a positive and confident manner. And here she is in the Capitol, just, talking about something probably very mundane and some bill about something that affects a couple hundred people, because that's what most bills actually do, in a positive way, right? Like
Mhm.
helping cotton farmers or you know, helping a community get better, not like holding people down. But in the end, when she was talking about this rather, innocuous piece of legislation, her voice was wavering. I'm like, huh. And I
Hmm.
thought to myself, I don't think I would do that. But then I also thought about what is it that happened in my life that really, like, I'm going to use trigger in a positive way, triggered me to, you know, kind of usurp order in society of
Mm.
I'm not worthy, or I shouldn't raise my voice, or I shouldn't do this, or I shouldn't do that. And I will say it wasn't my upbringing. My grandmother was great about always being positive and always saying things like, you can't do it. But and I still hear from my mom a bunch of negative self-talk, and she's a strong
Mm.
Swedish woman. And even to this day, she will put herself down. And I'm just like thinking to myself, I don't know how I'm going to fix this, but we are going to fix this. It's going to happen. This is going to change.
Yes.
But the moment that really hit me was at a Barbary bar review class in
Mm.
California, and I
Mm.
was seeing this huge auditorium in San Francisco. I had gone to law school in a smaller state in a smaller school, and then here I am sitting in an auditorium in San Francisco because that's where I moved right after law school to take the bar, because that's what every rational person does, is move to California to take the bar. And there was a law professor whose name I don't know, but I'm pretty sure he was from Berkeley. And this is how he started his lecture: don't freak out, you can do it. And he
Mm,
just gave this speech about how we all have access to this information. We've all heard this information. We've all made it through law school. You guys know this. Just
mm,
don't freak out. It's all in your
mm,
head. It's all the information and all the tools you need are in your grasp because you have them already. And it's kind of like a good life lesson, right? Like, yeah, I am good at what I've done. Yeah, I have dedicated time to this. Yes, I am different than everyone else because I am me, and I have a unique perspective because not everyone has lived the same life as I have. And let's
mm,
all turn those things about ourselves into positives so that we all feel confident. And I think you're right. It's more than just confidence. We all feel settled in ourselves,
mhm,
right? Because it's not
mhm.
about, it is about what you project, but more importantly, it's how do you see yourself? Because how you see
Yeah,
yourself informs how you project yourself to
yeah,
others.
yep. And it becomes more and more authentic, right? And that's
Oh,
why,
yeah,
like, I do, and I feel like it comes up more. I am a believer in fake it till you make it because there's always a place where you're not there yet.
hmm,
And you have to, again, I believe in that self-fulfilling prophecy of like sometimes you have to put the cart before the horse and then the horse follows the situation. And so that's
yes.
great. Like do whatever you got to do to get there, right? But also there's like a long-term um project that needs to happen. And it's something that I find myself when people, are looking to make big changes in their life and they come to me seeking advice or seeking collaborative, just thought on their lives. I always find myself saying it's internal. It's not all of this external stuff. It's not all of these different people that are the problem. And there's maybe not even a problem. It's just that it's that time in your life where you need to look inside and do the inside work, right? Because that inside work, whatever that means for you, is really what's going to get you that settled core where everything else can emanate from, right? And everything else is going to follow. And it really does. When we get caught up on what somebody's doing, what somebody's saying about you, what somebody's thinking, oh God, somebody's thinking about you, I always say what other people think about me is none of my business. And I keep saying that so that
Absolutely.
everybody else will think the same thing. But if you haven't done, and actually I shouldn't even say if you haven't done, I should say there's always more. There's always higher levels of enlightenment, right? And there's always like deeper levels of settling into yourself. And so that part is important to remember and to revisit over and over again and keep making time and space for it and keep demanding that you have, this healing space, this reflective space, this meditative space for you, this time and space for you to reach those deeper levels of settling because it literally just impacts everything else in your life. It just really does. When we talk about, I mean, I feel like we've talked about all these things that are culminating in my mind, where we talk about, healthy boundaries. Well, if you feel like you're worthy and you feel like everything in your life that you think is important, then healthy boundaries will flow from that because you already are settled in you to say, this is what I deserve, right? It's
Yeah.
like values. It's like getting those values really deeply entrenched in you. It's like replacing those puritanical values. Actually, that's what we're doing, right? We're replacing those
Yes.
puritanical values with new values. And those new values are true authentic values to you. We don't get to tell you what your values are, but when you do the work, and when I say the work, I don't have I don't have a playbook or I haven't written a book on this kind of thing. It's just a matter of literally what works for you, what helps you connect to yourself. And we've talked about this in other episodes, right? Exploring ways to connect and reflect with yourself, right? And when we do that work, the more and more we do that work, the more and more we can get closer to defining, articulating, holding on to, and living our true authentic values to ourselves. So that work is the work that is so important. I don't even like calling it work because that's a part of the puritanical like
It is,
diaspora,
isn't it?
right? It
Yep.
is. And so it's not work and it's not good to want to work on things all the time or that you're bad and you need to change who you are. We're talking about is, demanding and making the space in your life to connect with you and to really settle on how you want to live your life and from what values you want to live your life, and then always finding a more clear way to articulate it in your mind and in your heart and in your language so that way everything aligns, right? Everything that's in you is in alignment and everything that you project out to other people or express to other people and the way that you live your life and you make choices in your life aligns with those values that you have set for yourself.
I find that when I find it the most challenging to overcome kind of negative self-talk, it is usually at a moment in life when I'm leveling up, right? Like when I'm
Mm,
reaching the next level, that's
wow.
when those pressures are the hardest. And so I
Yep.
think of it kind of as this like challenge, like, yeah, I want to get to the next level
Mhm.
because I'm a type A overachiever type person. So it's motivating to me, right? That
Mhm.
it is this time where you're leveling up. And if you're going to achieve the next round, hey, then I've got to overcome this too because there's going to be more to happen. That is going to be great and it's going to be amazing. And when I can't say that I'm great and I'm amazing, what I think in my head is, okay, what would Cy say about me? Or whoever it is, right? That
Yep.
will always say good things about you.
Carry your
Pretend
little
to
coach
be,
with you. Yeah.
yeah. And if the words don't flow from you, imagine you saying them for this person who is
Mhm.
that positive light in your life.
Mhm.
Because,
Mhm.
wow, that's a way to, it's not even faking it till you making it. It is talking about yourself, how others see you,
Mm.
meaning like the good people who see you in good ways. And
And
it
even
works.
and even when those feelings come up too, I'm just recalling that I had another conversation with someone who asked me to be on a panel for, I think it was related to like financial wealth, something in that regard. And I was like, me? Like, like, like I talk about this because I'm exploring this part of how to me, wealth is a really important thing for us to be paying attention to and for us to be learning about and for us to be uplifting each other in, financial wealth and how it impacts so many people's lives. And I really think that, the opposite of that, poverty is very traumatic. And so this is just a thing, another era that I'm going through where I'm putting a lot of attention there. And I talk to people about it, right? Because I've gotten into the habit of doing that when I think something is valuable or exciting or interesting. I believe other people will too. And so I talk to people about it. And so, I wasn't expecting someone to, take what I was saying and think that it meant I should, be a panelist or somebody of authority on it. And so I got really insecure about it. But eh, what I am proud about myself on is that in that conversation, I started to get into this place where I was looking for a reason why or a way to say that, like, maybe I'm not the person that you're looking for, right? I was
Sigh.
I know. And so but I noticed that that was happening because I was just like looking for words, but they weren't coming up, to be fair to myself. So I was like, maybe that's not the thing I'm trying to do. And I told the person, I said, you know what? Again, it's about like reflecting and being conscious about it. In that moment, I was like, you know what? These are the feelings that are coming up for me right now. Like, you invited me to do this thing. I'm so grateful that you think of me that way. It's so flattering. And all these weird feelings of insecurity came up for me. And so I just shared it out loud. And that helped me personally because then I was like, I don't think it's the fact that I don't believe I don't have anything to say or that I don't have anything to offer. I'm like, I know I do actually. I'm like, I think I'm uncomfortable with this dynamic that's set up between panelists and audience, and where it signals, that these people are experts and you people are learners, and there's this weird dynamic for me, and I just started exploring like what else we could do, or like how else that might look to make it again like more of a collaborative conversation where everybody's voice is actually important and everybody's lived experience is actually important. And you know, that's just me. That's just what I was feeling in that moment and what I thought would make me feel extremely comfortable and also maybe even have a more positive experience for everyone involved. Because I'm also trying to work towards, I'm challenging myself and working towards just like breaking down all of our oppressive structures that we've created, right? Like there's so many structures that come from puritanical values, that say this is the way it has to be, right? And so the thing that I liked about that is that I was able to catch it, and then just talk about it, just express what was happening, and that is a little bit of vulnerability that people sometimes struggle with. And I would just say again, like everything else, just go ahead and say it. Just, I mean, if you feel safe in that space, especially like somebody who's from, I mean, just say it, and then see where it goes from there, because I felt so much better when I just articulated it instead of just continuing to try to find a way to diminish myself, right? Yeah,
Which should be our advice to absolutely nobody, to continue
exactly.
to diminish yourself.
Exactly. You gotta stop it one way or another, you just have to
Yeah.
take another track, like, find a way to break out of that cycle, because it is a cycle where you start diminishing yourself and then you believe it, and then it makes your confidence go down, and then you think other people are thinking that. I mean, you could spiral pretty fast if you let yourself buy into it. So, just anything you have to do to break out of it, and that's just one way you could.
And I hope everyone who's been listening today has found some tools from Cy and I's experience on how do you break down those negative thoughts, because we live in a world where they exist and we talk about ourselves in ways that are not positive. And let's all be our own PR firm, but also be
Mhm,
a good PR firm for like the people around you who are in your
mhm.
inner circle and who you adore and love, because they're not perfect either and they need it too.
Yes,
Because
yes.
if we don't stop and help each other get better, what's the point, really, in my mind? Like, I want everyone to become their best selves, and I want everyone to see themselves in their best light, because I want a world where everybody is settled and happy and
Mm.
treating each other with kindness and understanding and empathy. And wow, I just got really preachy really fast. I'm sorry. Oh, there I am apologizing for it. Wrong. So let me
No, I
catch
was,
myself.
yeah, no, stop, Tessa. You're not allowed
Yep.
to self-deprecate, because that was a wonderful thought. I was into it. I was over here grooving like it was a beat. I love it. I want that too. I want all of those things. And I think the technique that we've come to find is to break ourselves and others. So we have to catch it. So I'm almost
Yep.
like excited to like start, and I think I always do, and I always sense it, but I'm almost excited to like go out and like keep catching people and their self-deprecation, which sounds so weird.
Yeah. It's,
But I kind of excited.
it applies to everyone. Like I catch my mom when she's self-deprecating. I'm like,
Mhm.
no.
Mhm. It can be like a game, I'm excited for this game. We
Yeah.
talk about reframing, right? Like this is a game. We can catch people self-deprecating and catch ourselves self-deprecating, and then we have an opportunity to play PR, which is I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I just get excited for that because I love doing it. It's just fun, and reframing, right? Rebranding, all of that
Yeah.
is just to me like a fun little exercise, but it really makes a difference. And it's
It
truly
does.
like we said before about sharing your perspective, literally just offering somebody a new thought, a new way of thinking is can be so, can be kind of, life changing, or it can at least be it changed the course of this incident or this issue or this time in their life or this, group dynamic or what have you. So I love being the PR firm, and we can do it for each other, we can do it for ourselves, and the more you do it for other people, just know that they're gonna start internalizing that's why it's such a cool game, because
It
every time
is.
we do it, we are getting closer to being the internal voice, right? We are being getting closer to that internalization where people will start hearing it first in their head, and they'll start saying it for themselves. So let's
And
play
then
that
they
game.
will do that for others. And I feel like
Exactly.
we're building like this group of warriors who are out there to
Yes.
make people positive and see the world in a good way because hey, I want to create the world that I want to live in. And that involves a lot of people seeing the good in every event and
Yes.
seeing the good in themselves and seeing the good in others. And I think when you see the good in more their positions and their views on things, even when they don't align with yours, you see that it's not coming from this place of like evil oppression, but coming from a place of, hey, this is their true value in things.
Mm. Yeah, let's make positive reframing viral. I love
I love it too. We can all
it.
start our own little PR firms.
Yes, 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 and yes. I'm just excited for it. It's gonna
Oh,
be
me too. Oh,
good.
I'm ready to go conquer it right now. I have to say, I feel a little like hyped up and ready to go.
I know. I'm gonna go out today for sure. I'm gonna be with a lot of my chicas. We have a gig today with my all female um Selena tribute band, and so I'm just gonna be
See,
like
everybody,
listening.
this is why Sai is the coolest person on the planet.
Nah. Well, I can't say no. I'm not allowed to self-deprecate. You're gonna be I mean, I have
Aha,
fun.
see?
I have fun. It's the perfect life for me, so I'm grateful for it.
Awesome.
And I'm grateful for you, Tessa, and for everyone that listens in and joins in on this community and what we're trying to do here, which is just to lift each other up and not to ignore that life is real and that there are hard things out there. That's why we have each other. That's exactly why we are here in community. So thank you for making it
Absolutely.
real. We love y'all.
Love y'all. We'll talk to you next time.
Take care. Bye bye.